Stop right there, pause this video, go grab a glass of water, and don't just sit back and listen to me. Because what I'm about to show you, if you don't actually do it, you'll miss the entire point. I'm Dr. James. I've spent over 15 years working with men over 60, and I thought I had seen everything. Low energy, poor circulation, that quiet frustration men don't talk about. But a few years ago, something happened that caught me off guard, not in my patients, but in myself. I remember one night after a long shift, I felt it. Cold hands, heavy legs, walking up a single flight of stairs and feeling more winded than I should have been. And later, a moment of silence in the bedroom that didn't feel right. That was the moment. Not fear, but confusion. Because I knew the science, or at least I thought I did. So I did what most people do. I tested everything. Supplements, diet changes, even some of the same medications my patients were asking about. Some helped a little, most didn't last, and that's when it hit me. I wasn't dealing with age. I was dealing with blood flow, and more importantly, something deeper that most people misunderstand. Here's the part no one really explains to you. It's not just about testosterone. It's not even about your heart. It's about the environment inside your body, the balance that controls whether your blood vessels open or stay tight. And what surprised me, what really made me stop and rethink everything, was how something so simple, sitting in my own kitchen, was quietly influencing that balance every single day. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through this step by step, not just what it is, but how to use it the right way, what most men get wrong, and a few simple adjustments that can make a noticeable difference if you actually follow through. Stay with me because the last part is where most men finally realize what's been holding them back. And number 3. I almost ignored it at first. Honestly, it seemed too simple to matter. But in the end, it made the biggest difference in how blood actually started flowing again. If you're curious where this comes from, I've left a quick breakdown in the description below. Before we go any further, let me ask you something real quick. How old are you? Drop your age in the comments. I read every single one and it helps me understand who I'm speaking to. All right, let's start with the first step, and this is where most men already get it wrong. 1. The simple bedtime mix most men overlook. Let me start with something so simple, most men dismiss it immediately. Tonight, about 2 hours after your last meal, take a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, mix it into a full glass of water, and drink it slowly on an empty stomach. That's it. No complicated routine, no expensive supplement. It sounds almost too basic to matter, but this is where it gets interesting. Inside your body, especially as you pass 60, your blood vessels become more sensitive to something called acidity. Think of your bloodstream like a network of flexible pipes. When the environment becomes too acidic, those pipes tighten, and one key molecule, nitric oxide, gets trapped. That molecule is what tells your blood vessels to relax and open, allowing strong, steady circulation. When it's limited, you feel it as cold hands, low energy, or weaker performance where it matters most. Now here's where baking soda comes in. It acts as a buffering agent, helping gently shift your internal environment back toward balance. When that happens, your blood vessels are more willing to open and nitric oxide can do its job again. Some clinical observations have shown that improving this internal balance can enhance vascular function by around 20 to 30% over time. Not overnight, but gradually, in a way your body actually recognizes and builds on. What I like about this method is the dual benefit. First, you're supporting better blood flow, which directly affects energy, stamina, and circulation. Second, you're indirectly helping your muscles and tissues receive more oxygen, which can reduce nighttime cramps and that heavy, sluggish feeling many men notice as they age. It's not about forcing your body. It's about removing what's holding it back. But timing and dosage matter more than people realize. Stick to a 1/4 teaspoon, no more, mixed in at least 8 ounces of water. Always take it on an empty stomach, ideally before bed, because if you drink it with food, it interferes with digestion and cancels the effect we're after. Do this consistently for a few weeks, not just once or twice, because the real change comes from repetition, not a single dose. And here's what most men don't expect. Even when the chemistry starts working, there's still one hidden factor that can quietly shut the whole system down. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. 2. The 3-minute breathing reset that unlocks blood flow. Now here's the part most men never connect to circulation, and honestly, I didn't fully appreciate it early in my career either. Right after you drink that baking soda mixture, sit down, place one hand on your belly, and begin a simple breathing pattern. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, let your abdomen expand, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. Do this for 3 minutes. It sounds almost too easy, but this is where modern physiology and traditional practices quietly overlap. In traditional medicine, slow diaphragmatic breathing has long been used to restore what they call vital energy flow. In modern science, we now understand this as regulation of the autonomic nervous system. Specifically, this breathing pattern activates your parasympathetic system, the rest and repair mode, which directly influences blood vessel dilation. When this system is active, your body releases signals that allow nitric oxide to work more effectively, relaxing the vascular walls instead of constricting them. Studies have shown that slow breathing at around 6 breaths per minute can improve heart rate variability by up to 25%, which is a key marker of nervous system balance. Another clinical finding observed improvements in peripheral circulation by nearly 15 to 20% when this breathing style was practiced consistently over a few weeks. Now combine that with the buffering effect of baking soda, and you're not just opening the pipes chemically, you're telling the brain it's safe to send blood where it's needed. Here's the risk most men don't realize. If you stay in a chronic stress state, even low-level stress, your body prioritizes survival over circulation. Blood is redirected away from the extremities and pelvic region, no matter what supplements you take. That's why this combination works so well. One adjusts the internal chemistry, the other reprograms the nervous system. Together, they create a synergy that neither one can achieve alone. For beginners, start gently. On your first few nights, try just 1 minute of this breathing after your drink, then gradually work your way up to 3 minutes as it feels natural. Always do it seated, shoulders relaxed, and avoid rushing the exhale. That's the most important part. Within a week or two, many men notice warmer hands, deeper sleep, and a subtle return of morning responsiveness. But even with chemistry and breathing aligned, there's still one overlooked factor that can silently block progress. And once you see it, you won't look at your daily habits the same way again. 3. The nitric oxide trigger. Most men feel within hours. Now, this is where things start to move faster, and this is the part I almost ignored at first. Alongside the baking soda routine, there's one compound your body responds to quickly: dietary nitrates, most commonly from beetroot. Here's what I want you to do. Take about 150 to 250 milliliters of beetroot juice, drink it in the late afternoon or early evening, ideally 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. It may not sound exciting, but what happens inside your body is surprisingly powerful. Once you drink it, those natural nitrates begin a simple conversion process. First, they're turned into nitrites by bacteria in your mouth, then further converted into nitric oxide in your bloodstream. That's the same molecule we talked about earlier, the one responsible for opening up your blood vessels. The difference here is speed. Instead of waiting weeks, this pathway can begin working within a few hours. In fact, some controlled trials have shown that beetroot juice can increase nitric oxide availability by up to 20% within 2 to 3 hours of consumption. Another study observed improved blood flow and endurance performance by nearly 16% in older adults after just one serving. That means not only better circulation, but also more stamina, less fatigue, and a noticeable boost in how your body responds under stress or activity. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I don't like the taste, or it upsets my stomach. That's fair. Beetroot can have a strong flavor, and for some men it may cause mild bloating or even a change in urine color. But here's the reframe. Those changes are often signs your body is actively processing and adapting. If the taste is an issue, you can dilute it with water or mix it with a small amount of lemon juice to make it easier. Start with a smaller amount, maybe 100 milliliters for the first few days, then gradually increase to the full dose as your body adjusts. Consistency matters, but so does timing. When you combine this short-term nitric oxide boost with the longer-term effects of baking soda and breathing, you create a layered system, immediate support, plus sustained improvement over time. And yet, even with all of this in place, there's still one deeper mechanism most men never address, something that operates quietly in the background and determines whether these improvements actually last. 4. The heat exposure method that reopens hidden circulation. Now, this one might sound a little intense at first, and I understand why some men hesitate. But controlled heat exposure, something as simple as a warm bath or short sauna session, can trigger a deeper level of circulation that most people never tap into. What I recommend is this. In the evening before your baking soda routine, spend 10 to 15 minutes in warm water around 100 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, or use a sauna if you have access. It doesn't need to be extreme, just consistent and controlled. Here's what's happening beneath the surface. Heat stimulates the release of heat shock proteins and increases nitric oxide synthase activity, which enhances nitric oxide production from within your blood vessels. At the same time, your body increases blood flow not just through major arteries, but down into the microcirculation, the tiny capillaries that feed your nerves, skin, and tissues. This is where many men over 60 start to lose function first, even before they notice major symptoms. 2 studies stand out here. Regular heat therapy has been associated with up to a 30% improvement in endothelial function over several weeks, while another clinical observation showed enhanced peripheral circulation by nearly 25%, particularly in older adults. What that means in real life is simple: warmer hands and feet, less tingling or numbness, and even faster recovery in areas that used to feel sluggish or unresponsive. Now, the key compound driving this is nitric oxide again, but this time it's being stimulated through temperature and enzyme activation rather than diet. The intermediates involved, like increased blood vessel shear stress and enzyme signaling, create a cascading effect that improves both large vessel flow and those tiny capillaries we talked about. That's why men often notice not just stronger circulation, but also improvements in skin warmth, sensitivity, and overall responsiveness. If you're new to this, start gradually. Begin with 5 to 7 minutes of warm exposure, then slowly build up to 15 minutes over a couple of weeks. Make sure you stay hydrated, avoid excessively hot temperatures, and give your body time to cool down naturally afterward. And if you have cardiovascular conditions, always check with your doctor before starting. But even with improved circulation at every level, from major vessels to microcapillaries, there's still one final piece most men overlook. And this next one is where everything either comes together or quietly falls apart. 5. The amino acid switch that rebuilds blood flow from within. Now, this one may sound a bit unconventional, especially if you've never thought of amino acids as part of circulation. But one of the most direct ways to influence blood flow from the inside out is through L-citrulline, a compound your body converts into L-arginine and then into nitric oxide. Here's what I want you to try. Take 1,500 milligrams of L-citrulline in the morning on an empty stomach, and if tolerated well, increase to 3,000 milligrams per day, split into 2 doses. What makes this different is the process. Instead of giving your body nitric oxide directly, which doesn't last long, L-citrulline works upstream. It gets converted in your kidneys into L-arginine, which then fuels nitric oxide production over a longer period. This creates a more stable and sustained release, not just in large arteries, but deep into the microcirculation where oxygen exchange actually happens. There have been some compelling findings here. One study showed that L-citrulline supplementation improved arterial blood flow by up to 24% after several weeks of use, while another reported enhanced endothelial function and circulation markers by nearly 30% in older adults. What's important is that this isn't just about performance. It's about restoring the system that keeps tissues alive, nourished, and responsive. You'll often see the effects in subtle ways first. Less numbness in the fingers, quicker recovery after minor strain, even improves sensitivity in areas that previously felt dull. That's microcirculation improving. At the same time, larger vessels are delivering more volume, which supports endurance, stamina, and overall vitality. If you're new to it, start with the lower dose for about 5 to 7 days. Let your body adapt. Some men notice mild stomach discomfort at first, but that usually fades as your system adjusts. Taking it with slightly warm water can improve absorption, and spacing your doses morning and early evening helps maintain consistent levels. Now, a quick safety note. If you're on blood pressure medication or have cardiovascular conditions, it's important to speak with your doctor before adding this, because it can enhance vasodilation. Used correctly, it's powerful, but it needs to be respected. And yet, even after optimizing chemistry, breathing, nutrients, and circulation, there's one final mechanism most men never consider. And this last one is where everything either locks in or slips away entirely. 6. The daily cocoa ritual that rebuilds circulation over time. If there's one method I would put above everything we've talked about, this is it. It's not fast, it's not flashy, but it works with your body in a way that's both deep and sustainable. The compound here is cocoa flavanols, found in raw, unsweetened cocoa powder, and when used correctly, they can significantly improve how your blood vessels function from the inside out. Now here's the part most people miss. You can't just grab any chocolate and expect results. What you need is pure, unsweetened cocoa powder, ideally minimally processed. Each morning, mix 1 tablespoon, about 5 to 7 grams, into warm water, not boiling, around 120 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and stir until fully dissolved. You can add a small pinch of cinnamon if needed, but avoid sugar because it cancels part of the benefit we're after. Let me explain why this works. Cocoa flavanols stimulate an enzyme in your blood vessels that helps produce nitric oxide, but they also protect that nitric oxide from breaking down too quickly. Think of it like this. If nitric oxide is the signal that opens your blood vessels, cocoa helps both send the signal and keep it active longer. That's why it affects not just major blood flow, but also microcirculation, the tiny networks that nourish your nerves and tissues. Some of the data here is hard to ignore. In one controlled trial, daily cocoa flavanol intake improved endothelial function by over 30% in older adults within a few weeks. Another study showed enhanced blood flow and vascular responsiveness by nearly 40%, with effects comparable to some pharmacological interventions, but without the same dependency or side effects. That's not a quick spike. That's a gradual rebuilding of function. What men often notice first is subtle. Warmer extremities, less tingling, better recovery, and over time, more consistent energy and responsiveness. This isn't about forcing a result. It's about restoring the system that produces it naturally. And yes, it requires consistency. This is something you do every day, not once in a while. It's also simple, inexpensive, easy to find, no prescription needed. Just a habit that supports your body instead of overriding it. And that's the shift I want you to understand. Your body is not broken. It's waiting for the right signals. So when you put all of this together, no drugs, low cost, grounded in real physiology, you start to see what's possible. Not a temporary fix, but a path back to function built step by step the way your body was designed to heal. If this gave you a new way to look at your health, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. In the next videos, I'll continue breaking down simple, practical methods, backed by real physiology, that help men over 60 improve blood flow, energy, and long-term vitality without relying on quick fixes. Everything we talk about here is designed to be easy to follow, affordable, and built for real life. Thanks for spending this time with me, and more importantly, for taking a step toward taking control of your health again.